In the gaming world, $50 cannot get you a lot nowadays, but it can get you a console that fits in your pocket, plays retro classics, and even some 3D games like Grand Theft Auto. AliExpress sent over a handful of consoles, and I think they are a great option for budget gamers, especially those that enjoy the retro classics. Some of them might even surprise you with what they can play.
Oh my gosh.
A big thank you to AliExpress for sponsoring this entire video. They're having a huge summer sale through July 14th where you can save up to 90% on some of their items. More on that later. Enjoy the video. Okay, so firstly, how do these even work? Are they a scam? And how are they so cheap? Well, I have to say that they are not a scam, and they work because they use embedded ARM processors, which are not like the processors you would find in a desktop computer. They're actually made for everyday devices like a smart fridge or your iPhone, but they've gotten strong enough nowadays that they actually support emulation. The cheapest of the bunch is the RG35XX, and it's about $39 on AliExpress, but if you use the code OzTalksHW, you actually get $9 off, so it ends up being about $30. It comes with a charging cable and a screen protector, and it's a little bit wider than my iPhone 13 Pro. It has a D-pad, clickable analog sticks, and 4 bumpers on the back. And the best part of this console is actually the screen. It's 3.5 inches IPS display with a 640 by 480 resolution. But I actually didn't know that the resolution was that low because the screen is really well made. Super bright, has decent viewing angles, and it just makes old games pop. Now, this console isn't perfect. The stock UI is pretty bad in my opinion. It's clunky, it's hard to find your settings, and you have to recall button combinations to navigate sometimes. The hardware buttons are also not the greatest. They're soft buttons, which is fine, but they're a little mushy, and the hard buttons on the back are very loud. Mods and software updates do improve the quality of life. I did update to the May 2024 version of the OS, and it's a little bit faster, and the UI is a lot better. The update process is a little bit of a pain. You need to be very specific and back up everything. If you do that, you should be fine. 2D emulation on the system is a breeze, as you expect. You can play GBA games, older arcade games. 3D emulation, specifically the Nintendo 64, was a little bit harder, but for the most part, it was still a playable experience. And one of the more exciting parts is that this can actually play Minecraft. All of the consoles have a ports section, which is games that are not specific to the emulators that it can run, but have been ported for the system. Now, Minecraft actually has a PSP version, and this can run the PSP emulator necessary for that. I tried it out, and I was completely shocked. So if you want Minecraft on the go, if you don't want to play on your phone for whatever reason, this can totally work. Pretty exciting stuff. Next on the list, we have the Miyoo Mini Plus, which goes for about $46 into AliExpress or $37 with the discount code. It comes with a charging cable, screen protector, and a USB SD card reader. It has a dual-core processor, 128 megabytes of RAM, no dedicated GPU, and a 3000 milliamp hour battery. It's about 2 inches shorter than my iPhone 13 Pro and around the same width. Definitely the most pocketable of the bunch. It only has a D-pad, front buttons, and 4 back bumpers. This has a similar 3.5 inch 640 by 480 IPS panel, but it's not as good as the R36S. It doesn't get as bright, and the viewing angles are noticeably worse. But you can still use it in full sun, it just won't look as good. The D-pad, though soft, isn't mushy, it's a lot more tactile, and I can say the same thing about the front buttons. I can definitely tell a noticeable difference. And the back hard buttons are not nearly as loud. The stock UI I actually enjoyed. It was easy to use, easy to navigate, and very clear. But you can upgrade to Onion OS for a better experience overall, but I decided to just stay at stock. The hardware on this thing is noticeably worse than all of the other devices on this list, but for what it has, it does a good job. 2D games are totally fine, but the best 3D games it can play are only up to the original PlayStation, and thankfully it's only advertised as such. As a matter of fact, I couldn't find a way to get N64 games to actually run on this, at least with the stock OS, or anything more powerful than that. This also means that we couldn't get Minecraft to run on it because it doesn't have a PSP emulator, unfortunately. but for everything else, it works pretty well. The next option on the list is my personal favorite. It's the Anbernic RG35XX H, and it's the first horizontal device on the list. It's $52 on AliExpress, but only about $43 with the code. It comes with a charging cable and screen protector, and it's pretty close in size to my iPhone, which technically makes it pocketable. It has a quad-core processor, a GPU, 1 gig of RAM, and a 3300 milliamp hour battery. It has clickable analog sticks, action buttons, and a D-pad, 2 bumpers on each corner, a headphone jack, and get this, HDMI out. Pretty cool. So if you wanted to connect this to your TV and then you hook up a Bluetooth controller, you can totally do that and have your own actual home console. The 3.5-inch IPS display looks really good on this thing. It's similar to the previous Anbernic console, the R35XX, where everything just looks crisp, the colors look accurate and really pop, and things don't get washed out at high brightness. The viewing angles are also the best on all the consoles that I've seen on this list, and even though it doesn't get the brightest, it still does a pretty good job in full sun. The buttons also feel good. The soft ones are not nearly as mushy as the R36S, and I think they're better than the Miyoo Mini Plus. And the back buttons, the hard ones, are not nearly as loud. 2D games work fine without any issues, but I could also enjoy Nintendo 64 games and PSP games without much issue. Now, unfortunately, this also cannot play Minecraft because it doesn't have, I guess, the right PSP emulation or port for it to work on its operating system. According to a Reddit user, the OS is closed source, and making custom firmware for these devices just takes a lot of time. And the last console that we have is the TrimUI Smart Pro for about $61 on AliExpress or $52 with the discount code. Now, this is the largest and beefiest model out of all of them that we've seen before. It has a quad-core processor with 1 gig of RAM, a dedicated GPU, and a 5000 milliamp hour battery. The display is 4.96 inches and 720p. I don't think it's as crisp or as color accurate as the other displays I've talked about. I actually think sometimes it can overexpose whites, for example. But when it comes to just graphics, matching the 720p display with this hardware just makes games look so much better on this device. It has hard buttons all around, and they're super clicky, very responsive. It has 2 bumpers on the corners. It has the D-pad, 2 analog sticks, which are not clickable, which is pretty interesting. And then you have your regular action buttons. It also has this FN or function button, which turns on a high performance mode, which just increases performance even more on this device. And this thing just plays games super well. Obviously 2D games are not an issue, and 3D games just play extremely smoothly relative to everything else. Nintendo 64 games are not an issue. I can play some PSP games, some PS1 games. All of them just play really well. But sadly, for the same reasons, Minecraft does not work on it yet. Maybe it will in the future, but currently it doesn't. Testing these devices took a long time, and there's still so much more that I can cover, and I think I'll do that in a future video. But as someone who is an outsider looking into this hobby and just got a first impressions, these are my general recommendations. The best value and the most versatile option is the R36S for sure. It's only $30 with a discount code. It plays both 2D and 3D games. It's pocketable, and there's a lot of different options with operating systems. If you're someone that likes to tinker and you want something that can kind of do it all and you don't want to spend a lot of money, then I recommend that one. Now, the most portable option is obviously the Miyoo Mini Plus. It obviously just fits in your pocket, and if you value that highly and you only really want to play 2D games, then this is going to be enough for you. Now, my personal on-the-go favorite is the Anbernic RG35XX H. It emulates 2D and 3D games well. It's portable, has a great screen, and it has decent buttons. Now, if portability is not a priority for you and you just want something that will play everything the best, then it's easily the TrimUI Smart Pro. It has great buttons, plays games extremely well, has a good screen, the OS is solid, and it's getting even better updates over time. Just a great at-home handheld console. If you want to pick up any of these devices for yourself or for a loved one, then you can purchase them through AliExpress, the sponsor of today's video. AliExpress offers better choices at better prices. Through their summer sale, you can save up to 90% off a ton of items AliExpress also offers free shipping for new users and free returns. And if you use the code OzTalks9, then you will get $9 off orders over $30. And if you use the code OzTalks25, you get $25 off orders over $100. The codes are valid through July 14th, 2024. I've personally used AliExpress myself for over 6 years now, and I stand behind them. I've picked up computer parts, accessories, a ton of different stuff through them, and it's always been a pleasant experience. So definitely check them out. Link for all of this, the codes, everything will be found in the description and in a pinned comment. This video has been really fun. Having these devices again has given me a sense of joy and wonder that I think I've lost a little bit when it comes to just regular PC gaming. It reminds me that I don't need to have the highest end computer for me to actually enjoy myself when I play games. There's so many classic games in here that I can spend hours on. So if you have one already, let me know what you think. If you have any tips for other people, share them in the comments, and let me know if you pick one up. Alright, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.